Erev Tov, everyone. The Gemara in Sanhedrin points out a basic tenet of Judaism and of human life, that all of us, human beings, are all created from the same mold. Nidbu mimatbeya achat. And yet, there are no two alike. The Gemara holds that to be one of the great miracles of creation, that we're all the same, but none of us are the same. And that's been borne out by the fact that, for instance, no two people have the same fingerprints, which is a remarkable thing. And now scientifically it's been shown that no two people have the same DNA. And that somehow everyone is constructed different. From that, Chazal derive a rule that all of us know, but it's mainly observed in the breach, that Geshem She'ein Partzufein Domim Zelo Zeh, just like physically we are not exactly the same one to another, Kach Ein Deoteun Shovot Zelo Zeh. So too, our opinions, our views of life, our experiences, even our beliefs are not similar. Just as physically we are different, then we are different in this also. And that requires, therefore, a measure of tolerance from people. Because the nature of a person's ego is that I am right, and I'm the only one that's right, and that if I say it, then that it must be, etc., etc. So you have to be willing to give that up in recognition of the way the Lord created the world. So we have an example of that in this week's Parsha by Noach. So Noach ish tzaddik tamim u'mayo b'doroso. So Elokim misalech Noach. Noach is the perfect father. His wife Naamah is also the perfect mother. Yivoled leNoach shlosha bonim. Noach had 3 sons. Et Shem, et Chom, et Yafet. So the Medrash asks the question, why does it say et? It should just say Shem, Chom, Yafet. And the Medrash says, it comes to point out to us that here are 3 sons born from the same father and mother, raised presumably in the same house, under the same environment and belief system. All 3 experienced the Mabul. All 3 experienced the fact that their father built the Teva, the ark, and that they were somehow miraculously saved when all of humankind was destroyed. And yet, they're not alike in any way. Shem will go on to be a Rosh Yeshiva. Chom is a warrior, conquer continents. Yefet is a philosopher, an intellectual. Noach will say, Yaft Elokim liyefet v'yishkon ba'alei shem. The beauty of the effort of intellect, of knowledge, is that somehow it should dwell, it should be connected to the tents of shame, that it should have a spiritual element to it, not just a purely intellectual one. Because a purely intellectual one will allow it to do terribly immoral things. So here you have three sons, and mehem nifrida amei olam. The world comes from these three families. They're all raised together. They all have the same experience, and they're all as different as can be one from another. And the Torah emphasizes that by saying on each one to delineate the fact that it's not three together, it's three separate individuals who thereby communicate different ideas and goals into the world. Not all of them are positive, as we read with the story with Chom and his son Canaan. How does it happen that should come from Noah? The Torah instructs us that that's the nature of life. We see that played out in Jewish history, especially in Jewish history over the last century, where the children of great noble people became the enemies of the Jewish people, even though they had, so to speak, the DNA of greatness within them. You know, the head of the Communist Party in South Africa was a man called Joe Solo. His full name was Soloveitchik. Out of respect for the family, he shortened it to Solo. And the instances are many that children of great Rabbonim somehow operated against it. The sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Yosef Yitzchok Schneerson Zatzal, was arrested by the Russian secret police, and the man who arrested him was his nephew, was a Schneerson. We see that also when the Torah describes the sons of Moshe. It says, Asher Shem Ha'echad Gershon, V'Shem Ha'echad Eliezer. You should say V'Shem Hasheni. The name of the first son is Gershon. The name of the second son is Eliezer. But on both sons it says Echad. Because in life, each one is an Echad. There's no one else like it. There's no comparison to anyone else. Even if they be brothers, even if they be identical twins. There's a discussion in the Medrash whether Yaakov and Esav were identical or not. Depends on Midrashim. Ine tomim bevitno. So it's spelled without an aleph. So the conventional pshat is that they were born to 7 months, not to 9. And then the full-term twins, Peretz and Zorach, they were born to 9. But there's a medrash that says, Ta'omim bevitna, they're not alike. They're different. Even though they are identical. And that's what Rashi indicates when he says that until the time of Bar Mitzvah, you couldn't tell who was Yaakov and who was Esau. Because oftentimes, when children are raised together in a home, so then the discipline of the parents makes them alike. But once they are freed from the discipline of the home, once they are bar mitzvah, so to speak, once when they stand on their own and they're able to be independent people, so then there are no two that are ever alike. And that's one of the messages that the Torah communicates to us in the description of how the world was built after the flood. You cannot expect a world that Deosei and Shovos Elazeh, yet everybody's going to be the same. So then the challenge becomes, how does one function? How does one understand life in a world of billions of people, all of whom are different one from another? And that's an enormous challenge. That's why Chazal emphasized the mitzvahs beinoram lachaveiro, because it's the social mitzvahs, so to speak, that allow us to live one with another, that allow us the luxury of having people who are different than we are. So the mitzvah, lo signov, lo sinov, lo sane bereacha et shoker, lo sirtzoch, those mitzvahs are what allow for differences. But if you don't allow for differences, as we saw with Cain and Hevel, so the natural result is a world of violence and murder. And those are the stark choices that lie before us. And therefore, that's the emphasis that we see that was laid upon the section of the Torah that we call Beinoram L'Chaveiro, because that is what allows us to function in a world where everyone is different. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakos es Yisrael, v'ficha chirba lahem Torah mitzvot shenemar, Adonai chavetz man tzidko yagdil Torah v'yadir.